crypto is crashing and it got you sweating, I bet. But chill, I have that slump survival guide for you. And, I tell you why I keep building in these times, in these slump times, and building a $1 trillion solution, and yes, really, that has a $1 trillion market cap potential. And I'll break down the math for you live. It's all live in this video. It's a little bit of a risk because, there's some math in it and stuff like that, but I'll break it down live and you will see in the end, why it's great keep building through the slump, and why it's great looking at solutions that have a great potential and that have a great vision that solves real problems, right? So nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know your personal situation. This is all just my musings about how to approach this thing. And after watching this video, you know what's going on with this crash here. Is it a crash? Is it at the end of the bull cycle? And you know what to do, what to look out for in projects. And if you're remotely a builder, you know what to build on and what projects to pick. So that's the big payout at the end of this video. It might be a little bit lengthy because I'll do the math for you live. So stay with me. And let's dive right into it. I'm Blockchain Bernie. This is episode 377. And let's look at that slump here, right? At what is actually going on here. This is the Solana chart for the last month here. Look at that, right? It's going down, and especially today here. Look at that thing here, right? And that's just, and it doesn't look different for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for anything. If you look at the 3-month chart here for Solana, it looks even worse, right? So now we could say we here at Xandeum, what slump, right? Look at this here. This is the 1-month chart for the XAND token, huh? Even volume is picking up here. We're still in low volume, but we had like here by the end of February, we were like a few $100s a day, and we're now at like 6,000, 7,000 a day. We're not immune to the tariff things that has crashed markets today, especially this morning. We're not immune to that, but look at that intact upwards trend here. It is just fantastic. And that is for a reason, right? And as I said, I'll just do the live math for you right here in this video. So everyone knows that, I wear that Xandeum swag here. Where is it here? So I contribute to the Xandeum network and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm not biased. I hold a lot of XAND tokens, full disclosure here. And yeah, so we have that live chat here also. So that's nice. So first of all, why is it great building during a slump, right? Everyone else is focused on other things, and we can focus more on stuff like that. And then we are ready by Bias Bernie. Hey, Action, good to see you. So that's just my full disclosure, right? Okay, so we're building in that slump, and then once we're done, prices will go up again. So that's all gonna be great. And these slumps always make us think like, what is it really that we want to be in, right? Everyone thinks like, oh no, I don't want to be in that trendy thing. I don't want to be in meme coins or NFTs with colorful pictures and stuff like that. Everyone thinks about, well, what is value for one, but also what is the real growth potential for the future, right? So, and then Xandeum is building that scalable storage layer for smart contracts, which is easily accessible by smart contracts, right? And now let's dive into the math here. And again, my thesis is this thing, first of all, has a big vision, right? It is good for humanity. It is good for the world because we're accelerating the world's transition to more decentralization and to more to be more self-determined, to make everyone more able to control their own destiny. And that has been a constant theme over the evolution of humanity and probably even outside of humans, right? Individuals have become more and more able to influence their own destiny, right? And that is a great thing. And we've seen so many things all over history, from kingdoms and empires towards democracy and republics, and we're still in many ways dependent on centralized organizations, on the new emperors of the world, named Google and Meta, and you name them all, right? And driving that forward so that we can all be decentralized and independent of centralized organizations. That is Satoshi's original idea. And then Vitalik brought that Satoshi's idea to code, right? But only to code, and we cannot build real full-fledged apps because the storage layer is missing. And that's what Xandeum is doing. And that will be great for humanity because all of these centralized Web 2 apps that are out there, they will all be able to get decentralized and to get rebuilt on Web 3. And there will be whole new apps, all decentralized and owned by the community and owned by the ones that are actually using it, and with less middlemen that can, they cannot censor you. It is all tamper-proof and all these type of things. I think that is a big goal for humanity. And currently, if you really think about it, what's holding blockchain and crypto back is not having that storage layer, right? So now that is important to have that big vision, because otherwise, if you get up every morning, you build a business, you build an important app, at some point in time, the going gets tough, right? It gets, and I'm speaking out of experience. I've been an entrepreneur since 1999, right? So that's 26 years. And there are tough times over and over again, right? So as the saying goes, starting a startup is like eating glass and staring into the abyss of death, right? So that's what happens all the time. And it's like, and I like that other quote, right? Throwing yourself off a cliff and building an airplane on your way down. And building that airplane is, the software that we're building, right? And it has to fly because, and it's a cliff because capital is running out, right? We have a burn rate. We're burning money each and every month as entrepreneurs. And at some point, there's the ground down there, right? And we got to have that airplane, and we got to be flying because it's just needed to stand on our own feet and have our own revenues. Okay, so what does that all mean? We're building the Xandeum storage layer at Xandeum. We're building it in public, by the way. So that's another thing that I love about this thing. And let me show you this here. This is our release plan, right? And it's on our website now. It might be a little bit small for you to see, but I still love to show this because the Constance release is done now. It's out, PNodes are out. We've launched PNodes. We've sold 220 PNodes. There are still 80 up for grabs. So if you want to buy a PNode, go to Xandeum.network and get your PNode there. There's still 80 to have. And then the Freiburg release is almost done. So we're working on the last things of the Freiburg release. And then The Munich release will be epic because it's a full working prototype. It demos everything, and it has the full API that we need for developers, for Web3 startups to build on it. So that's going to be awesome. The Frankfurt will be the MVP. On the Frankfurt release, we're going to have our demo app running, and there's that Wikipedia alternative demo app that we think can make some headlines there. We're also thinking about an LLM checker, LLM verifier app in cooperation with someone that wants to build that. So that's all going to be awesome. And Steve's from Munich. Okay, that's great. And yeah, I'm German originally, so that's why this whole thing is a journey through the country of Germany from south to north. It starts with Constance and it ends with the beautiful town of Grömitz by the Baltic Sea. So yeah, I love that stuff. So we're building it in public. Build, and we're not distracted by high trading volumes of meme coins and stuff like that, and we just keep building. We need to have that big vision, because if you do something, you want to build something, if it's only to make a quick buck, you will be in a hard place from time to time when running a business. If you don't have that vision so that the future is great, that we have more self-determination, people can really be independent of centralized authorities. And that resonates with me. I hate to be dependent on centralized authorities, right? I was writing a book in 2008 and I was selling it through Amazon, right? And Amazon is great for customers, but for everyone that's delivering to Amazon, I was an author, right? They offered me Amazon Advantage, right? And Advantage meant they took 55% of the sales, right? And then when they sold my book, they waited 120 days until they made payment to me as the author, right? I don't think that's great. I don't like these rules. I find, and they already had, back in 2008, they already had tens of billions of dollars in cash, right, in their checking account, right? You could see it there, and those were their rules. And I hate having to play by the rules of these centralized organizations. We want to break free of that as humanity, and with the Xandeum storage layer, we can do that. All right, so now the math, because I was mentioning that little word here, the $1 trillion opportunity, right? And that's important to me. It is important to me to stay motivated to do all this here, right? And to live with constant challenges and risks and burn rate and potentially money running out and all these type of things, with of course my personal money on the line, right? In order to get motivated, I need that big vision, but I also want to know how large is that opportunity. Does it have the potential to be something really huge, right? And when I say the potential, that doesn't mean like we have a 95% chance to have a 1 trillion market cap 5 years from now, right? I don't think we have a 95% chance, and I get into chances and probabilities, likelihoods as well in this video. But it needs to have that potential, and it has the potential, and it has, and I like the saying, it has a non-zero chance of reaching that $1 trillion, right? To me, it's enough that the chance is non-zero. There is some opportunity here, right? That if we do everything right, and if things all turn out our way, also in things that we cannot control, right? We cannot control everything, right? We can only give our best, right? Our job as a startup and as the fantastic Xandeum team is to give our best. That's our job. That's all we can do. The outcome, whether it really turns out that way, That's not our job. That's the universe's job, or God's job, or whoever the kind of almighty intelligence of the universe, that it's the job of them, right, or of him. All right, so now, why is this $1 trillion opportunity, right? First of all, let's say what needs to happen that we arrive at $1 trillion opportunity. And I have that on my iPad here. I hope that works. Okay. So we have prerequisites, right? And prerequisite number one is build, right? We have to be able to build it, right? So with the Munich release out there in May, in late May, I think we have a 98% chance that we can build the Munich release by May, right? By end of May. But we need to be able to overcome all technical challenges and make this solution a reality. And there's more releases after the Munich. And don't get me wrong, this is hard stuff, right? It is not easy to build a storage layer that is random access, that is like file system based, integrated and easily accessible to smart contracts. It has to be super easy to build apps, right, that look like Solana apps, but instead of Solana accounts, they also use the Xandeum file system. And this is not an easy problem to solve. And that is important, right? If it was a problem that's easy to do, copycats will be coming, it will become a commodity, prices will go down, and we won't be able to sustain this as a profitable business over decades to come. So it has to be a tough problem to solve, right? And that's what we're doing. So that's prerequisite number one. Hi, Bikram. So prerequisite number two is we need to get Web3 entrepreneurs build on Xandeum, right? Build on Xandeum. So that's important, right? We need to be able to market our solution to developers so that they build some nice apps on top of Xandeum, right? And with the Munich release, which is, not far out, it's going to be there by May. With the Munich release, we have the full API that the developers can use, and we have a fully functional prototype. So that means we will be starting to market that to developers. We won't have the demo apps yet, so that will be with the Frankfurt release. But we have everything there, and obviously the documentation for that is key. So we are putting a lot of effort into the documentation, so these developers can easily build their apps, right? So that will start marketing maybe in June, and then like in the summer or August or so, when the Frankfurt release is there, we will drive up that marketing. Also during that time, when we have the fully functional prototype with Munich and stuff, in order to get the full marketing power out here, we will look out for some more funding, and we have some great ideas on how we can do that. Also combined with the demo apps that we're building, not giving too much detail here now because there's still a few alternatives that we're figuring out. But that's something we will definitely pursue when the prototype is there. So number one, we need to be able to build it and overcome all technical challenges. I think we're on a very, very good track. And we have that detailed plan here, that detailed list. Then we need to get adoption by developers, right? So people need to build. Buenas, Michael. We need to build on 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 Xandeum, right? So we need to have some entrepreneurs that build on it. And then what needs to happen is number 3. Some of these apps go viral, right? Let's call it killer apps, right? Killer apps. So we need like hundreds, hopefully thousands of people build here on Xandeum. They build apps, build apps, build apps, but then some of them need to take off, right? There need to be some apps. It could be even our demo apps. It could be that Wikipedia alternative. If you really think about it, if we make that Wikipedia alternative, that will help solve all the controversies that we have with Wikipedia right now, right? So the donation thing is the most controversial thing, I think, about Wikipedia. There's so many other things, right? There are so many people that are out there that are quite vocal about it, including Elon Musk, right? We are in contact with an agency that provably has great connections with Elon on X, because you see it every day. They retweet each other almost like every day, right? But that is a Web3 marketing agency, right? If we have that Wikipedia done, we work with that agency. I think I'm almost sure that it catches Elon's attention. And, you can like Elon or you cannot like him, and that's all perfectly okay. But one thing's for sure, one retweet from him, and we've already won. And if one of these apps goes parabolic, it could be the Wikipedia, it could be that LLM verification thing that I talked about. It can go viral anytime. But then who are we? We only do a few demo apps, right? Like the few apps on the Apple App Store that were there in the beginning. But then other people wrote fantastic apps, and those do all the volumes, right? And that's the same with Xandeum, right? So there's a few ifs, right, to get to that $1 trillion opportunity, right? The first if is we need to be able to build it, right? The second if is we need to get developers build on top of Xandeum, right? I think 1 and 2 are quite likely to happen, right? Number 3 is among all these apps that have been built under number 2, there need to be some killer apps. There need to be some apps that are taking off so that we get the volume of storage transaction and of storage capacity into our Xandeum storage layer, right? And then number 4 is the non-storage apps. Non-storage apps become extinct. And now when I discuss that with my team here or with some people that I brainstormed this all with, right? They said like, oh, number 4 is quite unlikely to happen, right? And my argument is like, if number 3 has happened, right? We have a lot of apps that are built on top of Xandeum, and we have a few apps that are taking off, that have high volume, high storage capacity, everything. And it's all easy to use, right? And it is easy to use, otherwise we wouldn't have the 2 and 3. But if we arrived at number 3, I think it's almost inevitable that non-storage enabled apps will become extinct. It's like just like, in the beginning with those iPhone apps, some of them didn't need an internet connection. You just download the app, you need internet for that, but then you're on the go and you can still use the app. But then at some point, everyone's using internet connections to connect to their servers and blah, blah, blah. So there's hardly any phone app these days that would work without you having an internet connection, right? And that's just because it's become so easy. We have all these flat rates for internet and stuff like that. So it's almost inevitable. If we have those killer apps, I think, also all the existing apps, all the existing DeFi apps and NFT marketplaces, and why wouldn't they use the storage layer? Everyone hates to store the the colorful pictures in NFTs to having to store it on AWS or having to store it on IPFS or whatever. It's all a pain, right? If they can easily do that just with the Xandeum storage layer, they will do it. And in DeFi, why don't they offer their people to upload a credit report or to upload this and that to get better lending terms and stuff like that, right? It's going to be adopted everywhere, right? And then the non-storage apps are becoming extinct. And what does that mean? That means, you know, if we look at Filecoin right now, right? And Filecoin is really clumsy. It is not random access. It is not connected to smart contracts and anything. So people just use it to store stuff there and come back after a long time or stuff like that, right? So right now we're seeing 20 exabytes of storage capacity on the Filecoin chain. The price paid for that is around, on average, like $2 per terabyte per month. That's about what people pay for Filecoin services. But these are services that are not connected to Solana smart contracts. They are not random access, and they are relatively slow, almost like for archival purposes, right? So now, if we now look at what could that mean for Xandeum, right? I think if we go through these 1, 2, and 3, these ifs that I have there, storage capacity by 2030 to 2032, right? I mean, that it's not, we can't predict it by the day, right? But let's say 2030 to 2032, 5 to 7 years from now, Filecoin is at 20 exabytes. They are still growing, but they are not connected to anything. We're building all these apps here, and the apps will be hungry for storage, right? So my conservative assumption is we're going to be at 500 exabytes by 2030, right? 500 exabytes. Then we will not only charge the $2 per terabyte, because that is basically for spinning drives, for old technology, relatively low redundancy. Filecoin is offering like a 2 to 3 redundancy here. So what I'm going to assume here is, like, we have 3 tiers, right? We have the normal tier that is connected to the same level as Filecoin. That would be $2 per terabyte per month, right? That's the low tier. And then we have a medium tier that is SSDs. It has higher redundancy and things like that. So that would be $10 a month, right? 10 per terabyte per month. And then we have a top tier with NVMEs and everything with $15 per terabyte per month, right? And then we say, okay, we have probably 40% here. So that would be 200 exabytes, right? And then this will also be 200 exabytes, and this will be 100 exabytes, right? So if you add that all up at these dollar prices, right, that will be a revenue of roughly $50 billion a year, right? 50 billion per year from storing these data, that data. And then we're not only charging for the storage, but we're also charging for transactions because we interact with apps, right? So there will be all these apps here out there that where we can read and write and overwrite stuff in the middle and delete files and stuff like that. So we're not like a Filecoin or an Arweave or something where you just store something and then forget it. We're connected with smart contracts. And those are transactions that are being processed by the Xandeum network. And the assumption here is that likely these transaction fees are about the same as the actual storage fees, right? Because why would you go for a storage solution like Xandeum? Because you want to have it in smart contracts. So these smart contracts are going to be executed, right? And this transaction execution requires transaction fees, Solana transaction fees, but also the Xandeum storage transaction fees, right? So we say plus another 50 billion transactions, right? So that's going to be 100 billion in revenue per year, right? And then if we say like we roughly have, and that's almost all profit, right? There's not a lot of expenses there for running the. At least it's a very high margin, put it like that, right? So this is not like 100 billion revenues and like 1 billion in profits or so, right? Still, the PNodes have to be paid and blah, blah, blah. And that all goes into that network back to the XAND DAO and back to the stakers and stuff like that, right? But giving a market capitalization here for this thing that, you know, with the if, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in our scenario here have all materialized, right? And then, you know, such a solution that is taking over the world, to say it has a 10x factor here, right? Like like the market capitalization will be 10x of these revenues, or maybe that means 20x of the profits, right? A price earnings ratio here of 20 or so. That is conservative to assume, right? So then we could be one of these rare instances of trillion-dollar companies. Can you believe that, right? So there's not that many. I don't know. I think there's a handful right now that are listed on the stock exchange. There might be a few more private companies that are not listed anywhere that are in this area as well. But, you know, I wouldn't say there's more than 20 or so in the world that have a $1 trillion market cap or more, right? So there's really not that many, and we have that potential. We have that potential in here. One, you know, preconditions 1 through 4 need to be met. They don't seem all that super unlikely to me, right? But also, we need to keep solving all technical challenges. We need to keep the community happy, and I'm glad you're all here. And we need to raise funds when we need to raise funds, right? And the next milestone will be very soon when the Munich release is there. We can demo everything. We'll have the working prototype that's already there. So that's a moment in time where we at least will test the waters for new investors, and it could be through launching that Wikipedia alternative that we do, selling off their tokens. It could be launching the LLM checker, launching these tokens. It can even be that the XAND token is taking off and we can sell, you know, the foundation can sell some of these tokens that are mentioned in the tokenomics for building the storage layer. That's an opportunity. Also, I'm convinced the liquid staking will grow when people see the potential and they see the storage layer live, and they kind of realize like, okay, when I liquid stake, I will get all these extra storage rewards that are paid in Sol. And I will get those as a staker, and I will get them as a XAND holder. Yeah, so there are so many possibilities out there for raising more funds. But also, I will not put a venture capital off the table. It might be a good point in time after the Munich release is there to reach out to some of the big name venture capitalists here because make no mistake, the smaller ones won't really help us here, right? Because my experience is with the smaller venture capital firms, they don't like trillion-dollar opportunities, right? And I've had, when I was going for venture capital with one of my previous companies, literally some of these VCs looked me in the eye and said, like, Bernie, we'd rather give you like $5 million right now, and then we don't want you to ever need more money, right? Just build it, build it within 2 years, build it into a 25 million market cap thing, and we sell our 20% stake as or 200 million market cap, and then they sell their stake for 25 million, and they have like what 10x their stake. And there are so many VCs that are like that. They don't want the risk that if they invest right now, then we'd have to raise a second round and a third round, and then we have the risk we might not be able to raise that, and then they might have to put in way more money than they thought just to keep us alive and all these things. And there are so many venture capitalists that think like that, right? Which I find troublesome, right? We want these great opportunities. We want these moonshots. And this is a moonshot, but in my view, it doesn't have crazy risks. Of course, it has high risks, as every endeavor that does something new, but it's not like inherent to our solution. There's some extra risk or something like that. No. So that's also the thing. If I do that as an entrepreneur and I expose myself to all these risks, I want to have something that has the potential to give that big turnout, that big payout in the end, right? And to change the world and have the vision and really free us from the shackles of, centralized organizations. So that's my tip, and that's what helps me going through any downturns and slumps and whatever is out there. I'm so glad that recently the token price of the XAND token supports that story, right? It's like, man, look at that again here. Where were we? Let's do that again here. Oh wait, no, here and here and here. Well, this is Solana, huh? Look at that, right? And again, ETH and BTC don't look much different here, right? And then look at the XAND token. Huh? So the upward trend is, there's that little here Trump tariff thing. We're not immune to that, but it's small, right? It's small, and it leaves the upward trend intact here. So I just love that. I love to look at that thing, and even volume is picking up. So that's all great. And yeah, so let me read the live comments here because this was all live. Yeah, Elon can drive attention. If you build it, they will come, Peter. Yeah, somehow, but marketing is an art of its own, right? And I say it's an art. It's not that much of a science, but you need money. We always need new people. We don't need people in our community that are, kind of not open to welcome tens of thousands of new people, right? We need to get them in. We need to help make waves on social media. We need to grow on social media. We need to have always new people without the community growing like crazy, which is not easy, right? It is called marketing, right? And it needs money, it needs dedication, it needs team members. You might have seen Sean on Discord and on some of the videos. He's our new team member. He's going to be helping in marketing. I'm super excited about that. And a big Zandstorm is coming, is Michael writing here. Absolutely. And Peter giving some examples here of trillion-dollar companies, right? Is that the list, Peter? Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Saudi Aramco, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, is Tesla below 1 trillion now? It might be, right? But it's been around that. I think Tesla should still be above 1 trillion. anyway, there's not that many companies, and Xandeum has that potential here. It truly has that potential, because it just can drive a blockchain to the next level, adding that missing storage layer. And it's something, yeah, that I can talk about. Some people understand it, but as long as you don't see it, right? We need to see it. We need to have at least the Munich release with the working prototype. We need to have some apps that are being built on top of it. So, and then more people will see it. The trend will go up, the token price. And by the way, if we get to $1 trillion market cap, we're right now at an FDV of like 21 or so, let's say 20 million. So that would be a 50,000x, right? If that works. And it has that, again, no financial advice, and it has that 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 ifs, 4 preconditions that have to happen. But they can happen, right? They can happen, and we're actively working towards them to happen. And then we have that potential to be a $1 trillion company, and I just love that. That is something that keeps me up. And I'm not attached to the outcome, right? It's not like, man, it has to be a $1 trillion company, otherwise I'm like devastated or stuff like that, right? Even if it's a $1 billion company, that would be great, right? and it might be, it doesn't turn out at all. And let's face it, we might, as many companies, just run out of money in the middle of things, right? And for me, it's important that I don't attach myself to that outcome, because anyway, even the outcome is not my responsibility. All my job is, and our team's job is, to give our best, and also the community's job, right? Give your best to put us into a good light, to help spread the word, to welcome new members, and all these types of things. That's what's needed to get us there together. But a 50,000x, that would be awesome, right? That would mean $1,000 would become 50 million by then, right? So, and that's something to look forward to. It's something where we're building a future where we're not damned to be or doomed to be dictated by centralized organizations what to do and what not to do, right? We want to have that self-determination, that freedom of choice, and influence our own destiny. And I think that's a great vision to look forward to. And it's being that vision is being talked about so often with just blockchain, and maybe all of blockchain and crypto has been initiated for that vision. But it's just that vision cannot be achieved without a scalable storage layer that interacts with smart contracts, right? Because smart contracts is where things live. Smart contracts is the programmability of the blockchain. And these smart contracts, they need to be storage enabled, right? Having a Filecoin or having a whatever, it doesn't help us, right? And that's why we have so many jackbats, right? Jackbats are just another centralized business with a token, right? So if you spell that out, it's a jackbat. And there are so many jackbats out there, and I don't want to bash them, right? But things like Hive Mapper is a jackbat, or Storj, STORJ, is a jackbat, right? They pay people in tokens, and then people participate because they think it's something decentralized, whereas it's not. It's just another centralized business. And that's not wrong in itself. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say, Hive Mapper is a bad business or Storj is a bad business, right? I just want to say that it's kind of a little bit of use of crypto for something that's not really driving humanity towards being more decentralized and more self-determined. And that's something that keeps me up, right? We can reduce the number of jackbats that are out there and build like HiveMapper is doing a clone of Google Maps, right? And people take the photos themselves with their dash cams that they are selling. They pay you in tokens, but all the maps are theirs, right? They own the maps, the centralized business, and they sell it to other people, and they can pay in credit card and not in crypto, right? With the Xandeum storage layer, we can make a real decentralized version of that, right? You can drive with your dash cam, take the photos and videos of the streets and stuff, and it goes into a DAO, right? It's not owned by Ariel something who owns HiveMapper. It's going to be owned by that decentralized organization, right? That then makes their own decisions of what happens with their mapping data. That's a great future that I'm looking forward to, and unleashing the full potential of blockchain. And it has to be a big vision. It has to be a problem that is hard to solve. And I think we are set up in a great way to solve these problems, right? It's not like anyone could do that, right? You need a great team for that. And then having the potential to also get a big payoff, as we have in this case, that is what keeps me running. I hope this was entertaining to you. Again, what you can do basically is buy the XAND token that, participates in everything. If you haven't done so yet, also get your PNode. Well, before I leave here, let me just show you the Xandeum website here. Let me do that. Okay, so this is Xandeum.network here. So what you can do is there's a document here on why PNodes matter. I recommend reading that. And that was Sean's work, by the way. So if you like it, say thank you to Sean. There's the PNode store here, so you can buy these PNodes. PNodes are the core of the Xandeum network. That's where all the data is being stored on each of these PNodes. And here's the PNode setup guide. And then also, if you go to Jupiter, it's called JupAG. JupAG, and then there you can buy XAND, right? Let's say you have some USDC and you want to buy XAND for it. You just type XAND here. Boom, and then whatever, you can spend $100, and then it tells you, okay, you're getting 19,234 XAND for that, and you just hit swap, and then boom, you're a proud owner of those XAND tokens. And the XAND tokens are so important. They capture everything, right? They capture all the storage fees and stuff that I mentioned earlier in the video, and they give you the governance in the Xandeum DAO. Yeah, so you need to have these. So okay, let's conclude the thing now. Elaine says thanks Elaine, and Dochi getting more excited about the project, still trying to set up my PNodes. Yeah, feel free to reach out to support. And we're happy to do video calls also, like screen sharing calls to help you get set up. Yeah, Dochi is saying it is pretty easy. It is, but some people are just, they are not computer people, right? So, but we want it to be for them also. It's just a one-time setup, right? Just get it set up one time so that you can access it. And after that, it's all just point and click, and it's nice, beautiful web GUIs that our team member Kaveen is so great at building. Yeah, so thanks so much for watching today, guys. I've been talking an hour now, almost an hour, and love you all. Love you all. It's so important to have a great community, and yeah, let's get it done, and let's make that non-zero opportunity. Let's make it a reality. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.